It is a dramatic image, Jeremy, but one of the things that was stressed after the fact that there isn't anyone that is sick is, of course, that there will be no stone left unturned to ensure that this particular virus doesn't spread. So as much as the president himself, as well as Dr. Zweli Mkhize, the health minister, did confirm that none of the South Africans that have been repatriated have the disease, or rather the virus, one of the things that they are doing is ensuring that they are taking each and every measure as they possibly can to ensure that none of the people, if it goes undetected, will be able then to spread this particular virus. So they're doing everything they can, and they're saying they're ensuring that the safety of South African citizens, safety of those that might be skeptical about this particular airplane landing here in Limpopo, and of course the quarantine period being here in Limpopo, they're ensuring that all of those, all of those protocols are followed to ensure that there isn't any contraction or there isn't any spread of this virus should there be anything they missed before or when they checked some of these South Africans when they boarded. But you're live. Just pay that money. Put that into try.
And they're saying that none of the South have tested positive for coronavirus or have with symptoms associated with the coronavirus. Live pictures. So we bring in first person once again. Just hold on for a second. The first person of the health department. Thank you very much for the
So we did have late cancellation of it is a moment of life. We prevail, we bring
Well, not too much is happening, but of course the individuals you're speaking about who are wearing protective gear seem to be preparing for some of those buses that have been set to take some of those commuters or South Africans inside that particular aircraft. They seem to be preparing to ensure that they know exactly where they're going, because there are cones, in fact, that are being put around the exit of that particular airplane. But as we understand, in a few moments we will be seeing some of those people inside the airplane to actually disembark and then get into the buses. But as it seems, there is also some activity around the buses. There's also an ambulance, as far as we understand. all of these buses will have a vehicle in front of them, a vehicle behind them, a military vehicle that is to ensure that it gets to the quarantine site safely and secure. So what is happening now is the preparations. You can see, Jeremy, from those visuals that nothing is going, unturned here to ensure the safety, but more so it is perhaps a demonstration for those that have been skeptical about the repatriation of some of the South Africans that were in Wuhan, China. Now they are in fact putting it into practice to say there is no cause for concern as to the South Africans that will be coming back into the country.
Well, Desiree, we are at the viewing deck at the International Airport here in Polokwane. This is as far as we can get. I must say that the South African government has tried to arrange for us to get a bit closer, but I think it's much better showing where we are. You can see also, if my colleague Llewellyn could zoom in there a bit, you can see underneath the aircraft there, some of the personnel who have gone towards the aircraft in the white protective gear there, which is a clear indication that all the necessary procedures have been taken by the South African government to ensure that all the tests are done, screening is done before they disembark from that aircraft. At that moment, all the planning and the logistical, I don't want to say nightmare that the South African government has been through, but certainly at this point it could be a moment of pride, and I cannot begin to imagine the relief of those South Africans that are on board that aircraft, many of them for some time now calling for government to act and say they want to have part of those who are on that aircraft or a group.
Well, that's right, Jeremy. And in fact, when I checked with my GPS, it was at around 32 kilometers. So it's quite a drive. It's about 30 minutes or so, over 30 minutes to get there. But one thing's for sure is that the military is understood to have taken care of the route in which they will be using. Of course, this is not public knowledge at the moment, but we do know that they'll be commuted by bus. And I did say that all of the vehicles, or rather the buses that will be leaving here, will be escorted by some of the military vehicles as well as some of the official vehicles such as the South African Police Services. But this is to ensure the safety of those buses, and we understand that those buses will then leave here to go to the Ranch Hotel. I'm not sure about the access in which my colleagues, Pamandla Koke, as well as other colleagues from other media houses, as to how much they've been given as access, but we do know that they themselves are not allowed to go inside, that no one is allowed to go inside. The police themselves, we understand that they are not allowed to go inside because it is a quarantine site. But 21 days is what is expected of the quarantine, or how long the quarantine is expected to take place. But certainly the scenes around here, as you said earlier, Jeremy, are quite something dramatic, something out of a movie scene, if you may. Seeing some of those workers here at the airport geared up, and you see the coordination. It seems it's something that they had prepared for days before this had happened. But the interministerial task team did say earlier on, when President Cyril Ramaphosa saw them off, that they have indeed been planning this for weeks and months, and they're saying that this particular mission is at it's drawing to an end in terms of the aircraft landing here and the quarantine site. But they are not expecting any hiccups in terms of anyone being sick. They did say that the South Africans in that particular aircraft are not with the virus. So that is something, precautionary measures that we are seeing now. And I see that there are some of those workers approaching what seems to be an open luggage compartment in the aircraft, but we haven't seen any movement as far as those people that are inside is concerned. But I guess what will signal us is, of course, the buses that will be approaching that aircraft to see that in fact they are about to disembark. But for now it seems that their luggage is one thing that is being taken, and we will be just monitoring some of those activities around the runway to see exactly how they continue to carry out this particular mission. An important one, seeing that South Africa has reported about 24 of those people that have been infected by the virus. But one important thing that Dr. Zolimkiza did say in one of the press briefings, he said that this virus is one that the body is able to heal itself from, and that what they do is basically support the body, support the immune system to actually fight out the virus in different forms. So what they are saying is that there is no cause for concern, and that they've taken precautionary measures to ensure that they maintain or even put to a decline some of those people that have contracted this virus. So as it seems, everything is still going according to plan. But of course, we will be monitoring from this viewing deck here at the Polokwane International Airport what will then transpire, what will then unfold as some of those preparations are underway at this moment.
Very much on the fact that it's been a successful mission to begin with. To get those South Africans out there, can you imagine the kind of nightmare it would be to have you repatriate your citizens from one of those high-risk areas? A lot of logistical issues being taken into account when anything is going to happen. So all of that now culminating in this arrival. I managed to see some of the social media posts from Wuhan city, and just I can certainly tell you that the social space that they had been given is trying to form part of each other, and is also wearing some protective gear, and the evacuation team also in the one gear that you see those men there.
Well, it seems that it is indeed that point of saying we are ready to serve. And one of the jokes that the president made while he was seeing them off was to say that he thanks them for actually taking this mission upon themselves to be party of this mission. And he said that unfortunately, when the commander-in-chief of a country calls you to do such or be part of such a mission, that you do not say no. Jokingly so, Jeremy, but what we are seeing, of course, is that there are staff that even out of that aircraft that have dedicated themselves to be part of this mission. The coordination outside is telling of some of the preparations that went into this. But of course, inside there are those health officials from the Department of Health, as well as South African Defence Force, the SANDF, in that particular aircraft that were ensuring that this operation goes smoothly. One of the things that the President, as well as Dr. Zweli Mkhize, said was that they have been coordinating well with some of their government counterparts in China, Wuhan, to ensure that this runs smoothly. And in fact, just for the fact that we are seeing this particular aircraft here, that it has landed safely, does seem like everything was planned and everything is going according to plan. But of course, Dr. Zweli Mkhize yesterday even calling for calms and saying that they will be transparent as much as they possibly can in terms of what is unfolding at this particular moment. But we are expecting more activity, as you say. As you said, Jeremy, we are moving at a snail pace because that aircraft has landed about 15 minutes, if not 20 minutes or so. But it seems that we are seeing some activity, Jeremy, just in the nick of time, as I was trying to explain, that is moving a bit slow. A bus, one of the buses, is moving towards the aircraft as we speak, and I believe that it will be stationed on the other side of the aircraft, seeing that the staircase where those passengers are expected to disembark is on the other side. But that bus, Jeremy, on your visuals, is of course moving towards the aircraft, and we understand that it's one of the buses that will be taking those passengers to the ranch resort.
And I've counted 2 buses now, Desiree, where the South Africans will arrive, will then disembark from that aircraft, and that is the bus that will go by road, of course, and head towards the ranch resort, which is about 21 kilometers away from the airport here in Wuhan. It will, of course, be escorted by the South African Police Service together with the South African National Affairs Police. And we understand that there is a particular...
Well, that's what we understand, Jeremy. You remember that, as you rightfully point out, that in fact, inside that aircraft itself, there was a bit of precautionary measures that have been taken in terms of the seating arrangements of those that are in there. But more so, the buses themselves are telling of the fact that they will continue within that fashion, because there are a few buses that are stationed on the outskirts of the runway, if I may put it in that way. And seeing that one of them has approached means that they will be taking the first batch of people. There is an arrangement that they have made to ensure that that quarantine that they have put inside these particular transporters, the aircraft and the bus, will continue even towards the ranch resort as they approach it. But more so, what we do understand is that everything has been planned even on the other side, even at the ranch hotel. There is certain health facilities that have been set up to ensure that they continue with this. But what I can certainly tell is that the visuals in front of me and all of what's been said leading towards this particular day is that precaution has been the order of the day, or has been the order of this particular mission, and it seems that they are carrying out in such a manner. And of course, an ambulance also approaching there, showing that they are taking each and every step of this particular mission very seriously, even despite the fact that they've reiterated so many times that there isn't anyone with the virus inside that aircraft.
Right now, all of them from our medical staff on board.
Well, Jeremy, that is right. There is, of course, information that is making the rounds on social media and everywhere that this particular mission was one that was very expensive. And one of the things that they said at that interministerial briefing was that even so, one thing they can disclose to us is that they will not let any South African behind. They will not desert any South African. So whatever the costs are at this stage, they are saying that in fact it is a well worthwhile. And in fact, Jeremy, let me take your attention to that aircraft there. I see there is some movement with some people having luggage on their bags. We will not get too close, of course. We respect some of the perimeters that have been set for us to say that the identities of the people that are disembarking on that particular flight must not be revealed by the media. And what you can see there is just some people there moving towards the bus that is standing in front of that South African Airways aircraft. And what we are seeing, of course, is that they are being directed by some of those people that we are seeing wearing white protective gear. But they are indeed, I see that the first person has now put their luggage inside that bus, and they are, of course, going into that bus. But we're just monitoring as well the numbers of the people that are entering this particular bus to see if indeed that quarantine set up inside some of these transporters is in fact being carried out as well on those buses. But I see there is a line now outside that bus, and seeing that the people have now are going into that bus. You remember, Jeremy, that the capacity of a bus is around 60 something, but you see that there's fewer people here, but there are still some people obviously making their way out of that aircraft. As I see from where I'm standing, it seems that there's one person who's signaling that it is enough now. So I can definitely confirm that that's not 60 people that are standing in a line there to get inside a bus. So it shows that there are some measures that are put in place for the seating arrangement as well.
And that bus then will travel from here to the ranch resort, about 21 kilometers away from the international airport here in Polokwane. You also see there the men who are much closer to the aircraft in those white suits, protected here. They, of course, that again, necessary precautions that have been taken by the South African government to ensure that those will be working very closely with those who have arrived, also protect themselves. Desiree, I doubt I'm going to be able to hear you, so I will just continue at this stage. Another task for the South African government to evacuate persons from Wuhan in China. And, Desiree, over the past few weeks, the pictures that we've seen come up there, the experiences, I'm sure, which they will tell after the quarantine period has lapsed, is one that was already highlighted here on SABC News, some of the students who were attending some classes at the university in Convoy province, indicating they've been under lockdown at that university, and basically they didn't have much interaction amongst each other. They've been in their rooms for 24 hours a day, and at some point, little complaints here and there about food, having access to food. So the South African government also...
Well, Jeremy, when you put it like that, you actually you put it in a human level to say there has been a lot of speculation. There has been a lot of people that are outraged by saying that it has been brought to Limpopo, and in fact such hashtags as Limpopo not a dumping site were one of those things that was mentioned on social media. But when you look at these pictures that you see playing out on your screens, you see about the people that are there. In fact, I could say that now we are putting bodies into that and saying that these are actual people like me and you who have aspirations that they have pursued to go to China and have the time of their lives, as you said. But of course, the virus was something that was unanticipated at this stage, and that is why they are seeing these visuals today to say the president himself said that we cannot leave South Africans wanting if they do call out for help. So this is exactly what is happening, and the president did say, together with Dr. Zweli Mkhize, that they are not bringing South Africans that are sick. They are merely bringing South Africans that were abroad pursuing certain careers, pursuing certain interests that they had, and now what you are seeing is that they are being brought back because of this epidemic that has exploded in China and of course across the world. So what they're saying today is that we are seeing, in fact, that these are human beings. These are not people that are sick that are going to be dumped here. This is just precautionary measures taken to ensure that once they get back to their families, to their loved ones, that they are 100% sure that they have not contracted the virus, and as a precautionary measure, they will stay for 21 days at the ranch resort. And what we are seeing, of course, is that the interministerial task team is carrying this out to ensure that the South Africans themselves are able then to actually be integrated with their families, so that they are not at where this disease or this virus has come from. So these are the visuals basically saying, or painting a picture of saying, this is not what people have thought about. Some people have thought it is. This is basically a repatriation of some South African compatriots back into the country.
The buses as they leave from here and I see some...
Well, Jeremy, it is quite a hot day. In fact, I did bring my blazer as well because it was raining in the morning. It seemed like it was going to be a rainy day, but it's quite a hot day today. And in fact, maybe that is why we're seeing some of the luggages backing up. But certainly, one of the things that I'm able even to see from as far as I am is that all of these South Africans that are disembarking from this particular aircraft are actually working for themselves. They're actually just being directed by some of these officials. Now, you would imagine that if there was someone who was sick, they would be carried or they would be helped to walk towards some of those buses. But I see that, in fact, some of them are even standing outside the bus. It seems that that other bus is full to its capacity as far as some of those quarantine measures have been set up. But they're standing there for themselves. No one is helping them up. And I see one umbrella there, if I'm not mistaken. But certainly some movement around there shows you that these are quite healthy people. And it pays evident to what the president as well as the Minister of Health were saying, to say they're not bringing South Africans that were sick in the country. They are in fact bringing healthy South Africans who have been in Wuhan and are now being repatriated back into the country.
And that will then subsequently mean that all those who are on this aircraft, South African Airways aircraft, the South African government again indicating that all of them are healthy. You see some of those pictures there. Some bags on the side of that bus, one of the buses that will carry them to the ranch resort, there were a certain amount of kilograms of baggage that they were only allowed to bring along with them. So you couldn't really just pack up everything this way. I guess you pack what you really need and then leave. I know that it had been anticipated.
Well, that's right, Jeremy. We do know that Babu Vusi Kumalo, the captain of SAA, as well as the chief pilot of SAA, was the one who was at the forefront of, steering this particular aircraft towards Wuhan and back into the country. And in fact, I had an opportunity of actually catching up with him just before the inauguration of our current president, President Cyril Ramaphosa. And one of the things that he told me was the story of how he was one of the pilots that had to pilot out President Nelson Mandela at the time when there was when he was trying to go into exile outside the country. He said that he piloted him to Lesotho, but one of the things he did say was that he is honored at that time to be part of those that would have been flying over the inauguration as President Cyril Ramaphosa took over the reins, of course, from his predecessor, which is President Jacob Zuma. But he is, in fact, a decorated pilot. He is, in fact, one that has been known to put up his hand. He did say it was quite difficult for him at the time when it was during the apartheid time to actually acquire, a license to pilot. But he did say that because of his dream to actually be a pilot one day, he pushed and pushed. And in 1994, we know that he joined SAA, and up to date, in fact, that was the year I was born, so it's about 26 years in with SAA, and that's not his entire experience. That's his entire experience from 1994 with SAA. So you can imagine how many years he has of experience, but quite a decorated individual. But of course, kudos to all of those that are in that aircraft that formed part of the interministerial task team to take up this mission from the South African Defence Force, the health officials from the health department, as well as those individuals that have been taking care of some of the commuters or some of the South Africans that are in there, talking about the cabin crew that is in there. And of course, Jeremy, as we are here, we are also, pay our attention to those that are waiting at the ranch resort to say that we are willing to actually accept some of these South Africans in the country. We are willing to say that they must be quarantined here, and we're willing to serve the country in order to bring back the South Africans here. So quite certainly, while we are speaking about the decorated pilot, we're also speaking about individuals that have taken up this particular mission to say they will be party to this historic moment of ensuring that South Africans who are coming from a country that has been a source of this particular virus, but they are saying that they will put themselves on the line to ensure that South Africans are integrated back into society and into their families.
To ensure that if it does arise, someone might just pick up those symptoms while they've already arrived. There are plans that have been put in place to ensure that the necessary health care is there. So the second batch you see there of South Africans now disembarking from the aircraft. There are 3 buses here, Desiree. So the first one has moved a bit forward there, you will see. Now, on this one, it will start now to fill up the second batch of South Africans who are now disembarking, as you can see live. Just next to them there, the officials there joining those white protective suits, showing them some direction about where they need to go. And Desiree, I don't know if to say, from where I am at the moment, perhaps again, if I had been a fly on the wall or fly just next to that aircraft, but just have a look at the expressions on their faces at the moment. A moment of relief, I can certainly tell you, judging from what we have been reporting about over the past couple of, and I can tell you, a moment of relief for their loved ones as well. Stay tuned to the SABC channels, so those are some of those relatives who have been waiting for this moment. I received a telephone call from one of the family members this morning who said to me, Griselda, are they really arriving this morning? You get a sense, this way, of families who simply cannot wait, despite the fact and they will not be able to be reunited just yet. The fact that they were just back home is what has important for them at this stage. So we're really going to try our level best.
Is certainly we got the information that they will be convoying together, so that convoy is not going to be separate buses as we had been told before. So the buses will then be following each other. There will be, of course, a coordination from the South African Army to ensure that they carry out this quarantine phase as they had said before. But the information we have gotten is that there will be a one convoy that is going to the ranch resort where my colleague Pamandla Koke is. But more so, we are seeing at this particular point in time the loading of the luggages, and as far as it seems as if the people that are set to be taken there or have to be taken to the ranch resort have all been boarded some of these buses. So the buses are around the plane. I know I can see 3 of them visibly from where I'm sitting, but one of those is on the other side where you can, if you look closely, you can see the staircase from the aircraft. So it does seem that this particular phase of this mission is drawing to a near end, and what we will be seeing then is the 4 of these buses moving at the same time to the ranch resort. Pardon me, Jeremy, I couldn't get that break in our connection. That's what we understand, Jeremy. And in fact, I'd like to actually bring in the spokesperson for just to check on the people that will be taken to the quarantine site. Does this include some of those interministerial task team members as well as the pilots themselves?
Yeah, well, we have 18 medical staff that is going to be there. The crew is going to be quarantined as well, over and above the South African citizens that are on board. Yeah, so everybody who's on that flight, yes, indeed, will be quarantined. The crew of the bus would not be quarantined because they have a special protection around them. So they will not have any contact whatsoever between them and the citizens.
And just a sense of what the seating arrangements is inside those particular buses. Are they enough as far as you guys have gathered to say these 4 buses will then be able to observe some of those quarantine measures you've put in place even on the aircraft itself?
Yes, the buses, everybody who gets into the buses are people who have maintained their seats, and they will be given certain color codes so that when they get to the quarantine facility, they can be directed to their rooms according to the color code they have received.
Yes, and one of the things that my colleague Jeremy Meggs was trying to ask my colleague at the Ranch Hotel, Pamandla Koke, was to say, what is then the process that will be following there when they enter the Ranch resort? Is it something that you can disclose to us in terms of what will then be the processes around this particular quarantine that will be over 3 weeks?
Well, there's a medical staff meant by the defense. They will do the necessary checks, but they are on site, the medical staff that has been dedicated to this project, and thanks to the National Defence Force.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Jeremy, just getting some of those details ventilated in terms of what exactly they will be doing inside there. But of course, we are seeing some of those buses lining up at this stage, and it seems that the luggage is one thing that is left behind. As I can see, the only people I see there moving bodies are those that are actually wearing the white gear that were the workers that approached this particular flight. And it seems they are the ones that are conducting all of these things in terms of the coordination of those, of actually directing the people that were inside the flight. But we do understand that including the staff itself and the cabin crew as well as the pilots, they will all be taken to the ranch resort where they will be quarantined as far as we understand at this stage.
We're going to wrap I want to go with you there. I can. I don't want to. Because if you go there, I will travel.
Well, we haven't established exactly what this protective measure is, but one of the things we do know is that these buses, as they are here now, they were also stationed at the Ranch Resort earlier on, in fact, for the past couple of days. What we understand is that there was some there was some magnifications that have been done, or should I say alterations that have been done to suit these particular drivers. And I do believe that they will also be wearing protective gear, because what we have been told is also the fact that the passengers themselves will be given some of protective gears so that they are protected even among themselves as they commute to the Ranch Hotel. But awaiting there, as we understand, is the staff from the health sector that will then be able to do preliminary testing, and then they'll be taken to their rooms. But as far as we can see from where I'm standing, I cannot get a sense exactly of what some of those protective measures have been done, particularly for the bus drivers. But I do believe when we are given a chance to just move closer to that convoy, we will then be able to see. And of course, my colleagues Pamandla Koke, who will be at the receiving end of this particular trip where these buses will be going, will get a glimpse of how exactly they've protected some of these drivers. But for now, it is still too far to see. One thing we do know is that they were at the Ranch Resort, so we cannot say for certain how they've managed to protect some of these drivers that will be driving these buses.
It's Papa Marcha from the health department.
outside where the convoy will be leaving. There is, of course, some officials here from the South African, the SANDF, the army is outside, and we are waiting for that convoy to take over, Jeremy. I don't know if you can actually see me, but this is where we have been positioned, and we understand that the buses will be leaving on that particular entrance, and after that one, we understand they'll be commuting here with the convoy of the police. There is a number of police vehicles on this side. We will just try and fit ourselves to see where we can be, but for now, we are still waiting for those buses. It seems as if everyone has boarded in those buses, but one thing, it seems as if there are still checks that are being happening because they are stationed at that place. I do see some of the officials wearing the white protective gear, waving to show that there is some testing happening there in terms of how the convoy arrangement will be happening. But for now, from outside here, it does seem like all systems go, and we're just waiting for those buses to leave the Polokwane Airport, and then we will be making our way to the Rand Hotel. As far as we understand, Jeremy, that is all going to happen at the hotel. And that is why these commuters or the South African citizens inside that bus, together with the interministerial task team, were not actually taken inside the airport. As you can see, the buses are this side. Everything was done on the runway. But what we are seeing is that the airport has remained untainted. And in fact, one of the things we did see as we were going out of the airport, there were a lot of people in there that are said to be traveling to different destinations, and also some of the flights that are landing locally. So it does show that activities in the airport continue to be operating. But one of the things that is happening was that it was then secluded that these people will be put inside the buses immediately after disembarking from the aircraft and then be taken for testing. We understand that initial testing will only happen at the ranch resort. That is right, Jeremy. We were asked that we be stationed outside and far away from the roads where the buses will then be making their way to. And one of the things we've also been asked, as far as where my colleagues Pamandla Goke is that they do not get close to that particular ranch resort. But what will be happening, in fact, I will move with my colleague. I know I'm challenging him a bit in terms of how far he can go visually so, but we are trying to show you some of the cars that are stationed outside here. These are some of the police vehicles, as far as we understand, from the South African Police Services. Gift will just help me there. That will be, of course, leading the convoy here to actually take us to the ranch resort. But what is currently happening, as far as the SANDF has said, is that they will their mission will be done as far as protecting the perimeters here and ensuring that there is a sense of calm and there is a sense of stability. But after this particular point, we understand that the vehicles you see behind me will then be the ones to actually lead this particular convoy. And we understand that these four vehicles, together with some of the emergency vehicles outside here, the buses will then be convoying to the ranch resort. The route is something that we still haven't been told as to which one they will be using, but it's most likely that they won't be using the city center or anywhere where there is the population here in Polokwane, in Limpopo. But what we understand is that, or what we are assuming at this stage, is that they will be then commuting using the way, which is that one you mentioned, the R21, if I'm not mistaken, Jeremy. But what is currently happening is that we are waiting for those buses to actually start leaving this particular and it's something that we've been waiting for too long. They are in an orderly fashion. Oh, there's the first bus moving, Jeremy, as I am speaking to you. And I'll allow my colleague Gift to just try and show you some of those movements from inside the airport there. But what we are seeing is, of course, the movement of some of these buses. I will, of course, be out of your shot as we try and follow this convoy. But my colleague Gift, will then be giving you some of those visuals as this particular convoy moves. But quite disappointingly, that bus that is moving inwards towards the aircraft. It seems that there's still luggage that has been left there, so not yet as it seems, but there is, of course, movement. It seems that they're trying to quickly now finish with whatever business that is left there, and then we can leave towards the ranch resort. Well, no one has showed up, Jeremy. I would have expected that even despite what we imagine could have been the communication from the health minister as well as some of the ministers in that interministerial team, even if there was a communication to say they mustn't come here and that exercise would be futile, I would have expected one or two people with balloons, with welcome notes, with welcome placards to say that we are welcoming you back into the country. But as it seems that there isn't anyone who has shown up to actually witness the landing as well as what we are witnessing ourselves. And quite certainly, Jeremy, you did say that you've never seen anyone so excited about a bus that is moving, but it has been quite an exciting morning just to see that plane landing, just to see the coordination around some of the missions being carried out or some of the activities that are happening out here. And I guess it is because of that context of seeing that this particular virus that has killed over 5,000 people worldwide is the one that is pushing the repatriation of some of the people inside there. And quite certainly an interesting morning we've seen, and it seems that at this particular moment in time they are loading some of those bags again inside the buses. It seems that the capacity of the buses was actually not enough for those bags. One interesting thing, Jeremy, that would never be interesting in a normal day, where you see the loading of bags into those buses. But we are, of course, anticipating that these buses will then be moving to that quarantine area. And one of the things, Jeremy, that I do have to mention is that the aircraft that was used for this particular repatriation mission will also remain here until, of course, it has been cleansed of whatever might possibly have been the carrier of that virus. But as far as we understand at this stage, the aircraft will then remain here in Polokwane before it is taken back into Johannesburg after due diligence is done in terms of the cleansing. But you are seeing that there is still that loading of some of the bags, some of the luggages that we are seeing out there near that aircraft. Just keep your vis on those buses, eh? Just keep on those buses. Yo. airport after landing at, I think it was about an hour or 2 hours ago, but now they are en route to, of course, the ranch resort. And as we drive, the road is cordoned off as we see some of the members of the police department, the South African Police Department, have actually positioned themselves along this route. And as you can see, just behind me is, of course, that convoy that is going to the ranch hotel. They are moving at around 100 kilometers per hour at this stage. But of course, we are headed to where my colleague Pamela Koke is at the ranch hotel. But moving very fast with some of the members of the traffic department next to me here in Limpopo. Well, that's what we understand, Faith, and hence I said that there is a lot of the members of the South African Police Department as well as the Traffic Department all around this route to ensure that no one is using this route. And in fact, some of the vehicles are driving way ahead of us to just make sure that some of those cars that are in front of us, as one of the trucks I'm witnessing now, and you'll see in just a few minutes, is being told to just park on the side of the road until this particular convoy is actually passing by. But an interaction in front of me, as you will see in a couple of minutes, is actually closed off, cordoned off, to show that no cars must pass. But there's certainly a lot of planning, as it seems, that has gone into this particular convoy, into all of these things that we are seeing right now, the operations that have been seen here. And my colleague Gift at the back, I believe, showing you some of those visuals as the convoy follows us. We are a bit ahead, but they are coming closer. But one of the trucks in front of me being told to just park on the side or just drive on the side as the convoy is expected to pass here. And we will just be showing you some of the members of the South African Traffic Department as well as South African Police Services that have told some of the people here to just stop. You are seeing the truck, Faith, as I said. This is the truck that was told to just stop ahead of us. And we are now seeing or witnessing some of those cars will be then coming through together with that convoy. They are making sure that no one is actually interacting with those 4 buses that are behind us. And these are live visuals that we are taking from Polokwane here, from the from Polokwane Airport to actually the ranch resort, but trying to move as best as we can here. And you can see here at this particular intersection, there is, of course, those cars that have been stopped to ensure a swift movement of some of the vehicles that are behind us, including those buses, as well as officials that are accompanying the buses in that convoy. different routes that Spamandla Koke had made clear that they haven't given a clear indication of some of the routes they will be using. But that, as it turns out right now, they are, of course, en route to that particular ranch hotel. We are not sure as to where we are exactly. We are merely just trying to follow the convoy as it seems and bring you those live pictures that you are seeing on your screens. And in fact, my colleague Gift just telling me to try and keep up, but it's very difficult to do that while still trying to obviously not obstruct some of the operations that are happening here. But as best as we can, we're giving you these live visuals from this particular convoy headed towards the ranch hotel, ranch resort rather, Faith.